All right, and we off. Hey, everybody.
The
Welcome to Dating God's Way episode, the next episode.
next episode. What
I'm
about
not going to
that?
say what the number is because the number may change, but
Go
the next
ahead.
episode, and I'll wait for some people to jump in here. Can we get
Yep.
one? Can we get one? Can we get one?
I am inviting now, I think. I
All
hope.
right.
Hope to be inviting. Hope to be inviting.
Yeah. As soon as we,
Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
we get, what you doing over there?
I'm trying to invite people, but it was like doing something funny.
Hey, I see we got one pastor. Hey.
Hey. Got Sue. Hey, y'all.
Everybody. Thanks for joining on. Yeah, y'all come on in here so we can chop it up.
Come on in so we can chop it up tonight.
Dating God's way.
Yeah. Oh,
Dating
yeah.
God's way.
Boom.
Here we are. We all the way in August. And we still dating God's way.
Oh, you just got blurry again. Yeah.
Got blurry again?
What's up with that?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
every time I turn my face, it gets blurry. I don't know. So I
Hey,
have to stay face forward. Yeah, hey everybody. Come on and jump on in here. Hey,
come on
yeah,
in.
hey, come on in here. Jump on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Jump on with Pastor E and Pastor Will. Share, and share
Oh
alike.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right. So,
Hey,
tonight, first E, tell them a little bit about our discussion. What we talking about tonight? What is our starting subject?
all right. So tonight's starting subject tonight is what do you need to know before you say yes? That's going to
Oh,
be our dating God's way discussion. What are some things you need to know during that dating period? What are some things you need to know before you say yes?
but
That's what
here,
we're going to be talking about tonight.
but here's one thing you need to know is that Vision Impact Center. This is our anniversary, and so you need to know how we are celebrating our anniversary.
Tonight's sponsor, Vision Impact Center.
Woo-hoo, Vision Impact Center, and things are going down here at Vic. And come find out about us. Come join us. Come be a part of us. 5 ways to impact. So at Vision Impact, we are a bridge between the church and the community. And one of the things that we are doing, or we have been doing since the inception of Vision Impact Center, is providing outreach to the community, right?
Yes, Impact the lives.
Impacting lives. So we have partnered with the DC public school system. We have impacted children there. We have supported at least 2 schools. And I'm not talking about small schools. I'm talking about, elementary schools that really needed the help that we could provide for them. So we were part
Mentoring, yes.
Yeah, so we were part of their adopt a school program, and
That's
we also are engaged with the homeless community, or with the most vulnerable communities in
yeah,
Washington D.C., whether it's the homeless or the elderly, or just the shelters that's dealing with the intake of individuals that maybe just have chosen to live on the street.
yeah.
However they got there, they need support also. So through your donations and through your givings, through the giving of Vision Impact Center, internal and external, we were able to help thousands of people across the DMV area with clothes, shoes, food, and toiletries, and just about everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
And so,
yeah.
so that's one of our ways of impact, is to donate to Vision Impact Center. You can financially, you can send Cash App or PayPal.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sarah already put in the comment section.
awesome. Look us up at myvisioncommunity.org. Um,
Or My Vision Global.
or
So
My Vision Global. Okay.
coming soon. Coming soon.
soon. So I know you might be asking, so what is My Vision Global? What is that about, right? So a couple of years ago, okay, not even a couple of years ago, wow, last year,
Last year.
last year, Pastor E and I took our first trip across the seas. Now we have been on trips before, but we went on our first ministry trip across the street, no, across the seas to Cape Town, South Africa.
Africa.
Amen. And we just fell in love with Pastor Jody Johnson and their church there, and and everything was just so it was it just we just so mixed and glued together, and bless their heart, they heard the Lord and we heard the Lord, and out of this relationship, we have formed Vision Impact Center Cape Town. Amen. And what'd you say, Pastor E?
I said Vision Impact Cape Town, like that.
Yeah, Vision Impact
Just
Cape.
being Pastor E. Go ahead.
Okay, we have formed Vision Impact Cape Town, and so now we are Vision Impact Global, where we are Vision Impact in DMV and Vision Impact Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah.
Amen. And we have fellowship with Kenya and Nairobi. We have associates, or we have covenant pastor there in Kenya, and now covenant evangelist over in India. And so
Yeah.
as we continue to move forward, we are extending our reach, extending our arms globally to help people across the world. So
Yeah.
I bless the Lord for the mission. I bless the Lord for the assignment.
Woo.
But you are here to talk about dating God's way.
Yeah.
Dating God's way. So Pastor E, you want to say let's just jump right into it.
Let's jump right into it.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Talk about our sponsor now. Let's get in it. So we are talking about tonight, as I stated. Hey there. Thanks for joining. We're talking about tonight. What are the things that we need to know before we say yes, right? And I think it is pivotal, to think about these things in the dating stage. So what are the things that I need to know before I say yes, before I say yes to a ring, yes to a engagement, yes to a we taking it to the next level? What are some of those things that I need to know? So let's jump right in. So because we're talking about dating God's way, I think it's really important, Pastor Willie, that we talk a little bit about, that this things to know are going to be from a God perspective.
okay.
And we can start with that, right? Because
Okay.
I'm sure that the world has a system that they have set up about what are all the things you need to know as it relates to credit scores and as it relates to all of these different things. Like the world has a template.
Hey, credit scores are spiritual. Go ahead.
Here we are. Y'all see, here we are. We're starting already. Me and Pastor Willie already starting with this. And so while we know that there are some things in the natural that we do need to know, when you are dating God's way and you are a spirit-filled believer, that the things you need to know take on a different life.
True.
What do you think about that, Pastor Will?
Keep going. Our time.
Okay. And so, as we get into this tonight, like some of these questions that, and if you are dating God's way, you are still eligible. You are still in a space where you are eligible. You are still in a space where you are thinking about one day you will be getting married. These are some questions you can write down, and me and Pastor Will are going to talk about a little bit and see what he thinks about them. But this is my list, and he'll give some of his list. But one of the things that you want to know before you say yes, one of the things you want to know that are you really, number one, are you really dating a believer? Are you really, right? We're gonna just start right in here. Are you really dating a believer?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we know things like Christian Mingle exists, things like, there are, different ways now in this new age to meet people. Which there's nothing wrong with, right? Meeting people through the internet, meeting people on Facebook, meeting people in a DM, whatever all the things are, right?
Yeah.
Different avenues of meeting people now in this nice 21st century. But, one of the things it is essential to know is, are you really dating someone who is a believer? Are you dating someone who, is of the same faith as you are, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why this is essential is, I think about, I think I told this story before. I don't know if it was on Dating God's Way or it was at church, but, Janet Jackson and her husband got married, and they were of two different faiths. They got married, and then they had kids or a kid, and figured out that, whoops, why we do this? I don't want to raise my child from that faith. I don't want to raise my child with that belief system. So there was a breakdown. They had dated for that long time period, and they had gotten married, and didn't find out until they had children that they were incompatible because they both had two different belief systems. So one of the things how do you get to the questions about this? How do you know somebody is a believer or not? Because we're talking about, we have a specific faith, and we're going to talk from that specific faith tonight. How do you know somebody's a believer or not? One question you can ask them is, what's your salvation story? How'd you get saved?
Yeah.
That'll tell it, right? If that person has to start talking about their conversion, you will begin to know if this person is really a believer, right? What's your salvation? Another question that goes along with that, tell me about your relationship with God. What's your relationship with the Lord like, right? If those two questions cannot be answered, salvation story, relationship with God, if those two questions cannot be answered, then you know that there may be an issue with belief systems, especially if you're someone who's really dedicated to your relationship with God. And everybody on here that I see so far is a member of our church. So we know that you are really dedicated to your relationship with God. So salvation story and what's your relationship with God? Those are two great questions to ask.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah, I agree with that.
Brother Chip saying, if they ask you, what do you mean? Just go ahead and turn around. They ain't the one. Love it.
I think that is a good thing to know, that dating God's way, that, are you potentially hooking up with somebody that's really unequally yoked? You're really unequally yoking yourself, and and you're pretty much putting the yoke on your own self, asking the right questions. And so, yeah, absolutely, these are one of the questions that should be asked, because you are a believer, that you want to know if the person that you are dating or the person that has proposed to you, how did they receive salvation? How did they receive it? And it's not to compare stories.
No.
It's not to compare stories, but it's to know and hear the experience of their conversion, because every child of God that is saved has a story. We all have a story, whether it's the best story or not the so much best story, I'll say, but it's a story. Everybody has a story, especially about their conversion. You might not know the date or the time that it happened, but you know the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's number one, right? You want to, the one thing that you need to know as a believer who is dating God's way is this person a believer? That's an important question. Number two, I think, the next thing that you need to know about. So first, is this person a believer? We need to know. But after, figuring that out, because I think that's something that is an early conversation. You need to know that early on, right? But I do think, knowing where someone, what is the need to know, belief, but also where do they come from? I think it's essential to know, where does this person come from? What is
Now,
their family background? Where they come from?
dive into that a little bit. Let me hear you on that one.
Aha, here we go. And so, as we start to talk about family and what often when people start to delve into what their family was like and how they grew up, what it starts to give is some insight about how that person views family, how that person views relationships, right? And so it's giving you some insight, not on if they had a good upbringing or they had a bad upbringing, but it gives you perspective on their insight into family, on their insight into how they view their perspective of family. And
So,
so
so would that sway your decision?
I think that, for example, if I am coming into a possibility, because right now we're talking about things you need to know. And so if I'm coming into a possibility and I'm discussing family with this person, and this person says that, not only are they estranged from their family, but also that they are, are have a choosing to have a difficult relationship with their parents or their mother, whatever. Yes, I would want to know something about that. That is something that could be red flags, as we talked about before. So talking about relationship with family can be a red flag. I think it's something that's a need to know, because not that it's revealing things about your family, but it's revealing about your sometimes emotional stability, and sometimes the person's emotional stability, their mental stability. It reveals certain things when you start talking about family.
But what about
Trigger
if,
things
but
come up.
but what about if you heard the voice of the Lord and you heard him say, like, this is your wife, this is your husband, but you disagree or you have an issue with their family background? How do you reconcile those two?
Well, I think, getting into this family dynamic is that we're not judging based on family, but we are being aware based on how they relate to family. Okay. And so if somebody comes from a dysfunctional or abusive family background, if that person can articulate that, look, I don't come from the best family background, but I keep healthy boundaries, whatever all the things are, then yes, those are the right answers. It's about the person's perspective. It's about how they are handling it, because that will tell you in some ways if maybe this person is abusive, if this person is, now going to, be unhealthy in relationship with you. So I think the family conversation is an important one to have.
Because
Or if that person tells you that, they have, five different baby mothers, if they tell you that, I mean, there's a lot of things that raises your awareness when you start talking about family.
do you think it's important to say that when we meet people, especially when we talk about dating God's way and dating to marry, that we are meeting people in the middle of a journey that they're on, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
And
absolutely.
in this journey, they are maybe in this journey they are being delivered from family situations, life situations, and any other situations. um, how do you differ between the two of, you know how do you differ between the two, or how do you move forward in the two, knowing that you're on that journey,
Sure.
but yet like they have been transparent about family issues, um but yet you know that they're on this journey. How do you stay within that and understand when things happen where they're coming from as far as their decisions and their reactions?
I think that the need to know is about, not about does this person still need to be healed from family things or the therapy or the deliverance. I think the bigger thing is that you need to be aware. If this person cannot articulate to you that there are some areas that deliverance is needed or family therapy is needed, or I know there's some things in my background that I'm still working through. It's not about those things being present. It's about how that person is handling and responding to it, right? Because what can happen is now, you've kind of brought someone into instability and dysfunction, not because the family is that way, but because the person is that way. So I think, what we're talking about is not the absence of these things, because, look, everybody family got something with it, right? It's not about the absence of it. It's about your ability to discern, see, where that person fits at in that discussion.
Okay.
It's about the person that you is it's about the person who is the potential, not about the family per se at this level.
Okay.
Can we keep moving?
Yeah, keep moving. Go ahead.
Yep. What do we need to know? So the first thing is this person a believer? Number two, tell me a little bit about your family. How'd you grow up? Give me a little bit about that. I think, another thing as dating God's way, something that you need to know before you say yes is, how do you get through hard times? How do you get through hard times? Right. And so, I would specifically talk about certain things happening in that person's life. Has there been a time when you lost your job? Have there been a time where, you lost your car? Talking about when there has been a time that there had went through hard times and how they handled it will also allow you to be able to see if this person leans on faith or if they lean on dependencies. For example, something, when something happened in my family, let's just say, I went through a hard time with my parents or with my brother or whatever. And, I just, went out and got drunk every night. I went out and, bought a prostitute. Whatever the story is, you want to hear it. That's something you need to know. How did you handle it? How do you deal with hard times and stress? If something really bad happens in your life, what do you lean on? And that will help you to begin to see, some of the dependencies and things that could be there in that person's life.
Do you really think somebody's going to be open and honest with the embarrassing ways of how they deal with the hard time?
You know what, Pastor Will? You know how I know that they will?
How do you know?
Because they don't think nothing's wrong with it. Someone who has a lifestyle, and this is from experience, someone who has a lifestyle of living a certain life doesn't see a problem with it. They only see a problem with it if you articulate that there's a problem with it. So I think that, yes, people do tend to speak from the hip, as we say, or speak out of their experience. That there are things that they may not say as egregiously as I'm saying them, but people will communicate to you if you're listening. People will say, when my boyfriend dumped me or when my girlfriend dumped me, I went into a season of depression and I stayed in my house for the whole week and never came out. So you need to unpack that. Because if something happens between us, what's going to happen? Are you going to be threatening to do something to yourself? If something, all of those things are need to knows.
See, but I mean, we're talking about dating God's way and be giving
keys. Talking about dating God's way.
But I'll say this.
Yeah.
Most people will probably look at that situation and deny that they or say, I'll never be in that situation with you, or you got me and me and you, we'll never be like that.
That's why you're not asking about you. you're asking these questions about themselves. So that's the key that I'm giving everybody tonight. It's really a counseling key that I'm giving you tonight. That you're not asking the person how they would be in the relationship with you. You're asking them about their own experience. You're asking them about how they view things, not how they would be if they're with you. So yes, I'm definitely giving you a key tonight, a tip on how to get to the bottom of some things without before you get to the fuzzies of, oh, but I would never do that to you. That's later on down the line. We're talking about what to know before you say yes. We starting right here at the foundation. We're trying to get to the surface. We starting on the surface before you get all the way in to the lovey-dovey's with somebody. Need to know. On that same note, I know there's a lot for Pastor Will tonight. I know there's a lot. There's a lot for Pastor Will. I'm gonna tell y'all, there's a lot for Pastor Will tonight.
You got me scratching my ear a little bit.
There's a lot for Pastor Will tonight because I'm really pulling out this counseling technique tonight. And Pastor Will likes to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm saying just get beyond all of that. Get to the answers. Here we are. Saints of the Most High, get to the answers. Because it's going to save you some time and some heartaches.
True. I'm not denying. I'm not denying or doubting that. I'm not. I mean, these are these are what we consider hard conversations to have, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And these could be red flags and showstoppers and all that and all those other things, because somebody will ask if somebody will ask, wow, why we always got to be this deep and this heavy?
Well, I would say it from this standpoint. When you are dating or having a potential, when you're in a potential situation and you're thinking about if this is someone you should spend your life with, okay, if this is somebody I should spend time with, that you're going to spend a lot of time talking anyway. So why not be directed with the conversations you're having? Why not be intentional about the conversations that you're having?
You remember those times we were dating and we went home mad? It was, you just go ahead.
You know why we went home mad?
I'll just go ahead and walk you up to the door.
And you know why we went home mad? Because I needed the answers. Listen, I'm just there for real. I needed the answers. At least I needed to know what I was getting myself into. That's true. At least I'm going to agree to it. Right or wrong? I love the deep breath from Pastor Will.
Well, because, it's a thing of you needed to know because of what from my point of view, you needed to know for your security level. Right? Yeah. But from my point of view, it was like, why do you we didn't know why we got to be this heavy about these things, and after just having a good night.
Yeah. So what Pastor Will is talking about is a dynamic that I feel like a lot of people, especially men, sometimes do not understand, right? It's the intentionality. And so he feels like if we had a great night, then let's just live off of this great night. But I understood that once we get to this, we're not living off of no good nights. Like, we're going to have to know our potential challenges. We're going to have to know that there are things that we have to deal with once we've done having fun. And you, meaning who I'm talking to tonight, sometimes you need to be the person that gets that, even if the other person doesn't. As you can see tonight. Somebody got to get it, because what happened was, and you can tell me if you agree with this or no, I don't, Pastor Will, but what happened was in our first couple of months of marriage, we hit some real hard things. And because we had a practice of having hard conversations before we got married, some of those things weren't as hard as they did not kill us. I'll say it in that frame. That the things that happened, because we had a lot of hard conversations in the dating stage, that when those things happened in our marriage, it did not kill us. It didn't take us out. So he could not see those things was coming. Frankly, I couldn't either, but I knew the potential of it, right? There's a possibility that we're not always going to be having butterflies and roses. Some nights we're going to have a little bit of, and we need to prepare for that. So hard questions that Pastor Willie calls hard questions, I call intentional questions.
These are hard talks.
I don't think they are hard talks.
They are hard talks. When you're asking somebody to open up a conversation,
sure,
and this conversation could lead to the end of what we perceive as something good, right? You know, and the question becomes, am I willing to risk it? Am I willing to risk this? Am I willing to risk this relationship having this conversation?
The question is then, Pastor Will, is why don't you want to have the conversation?
Because it may risk, you may not like the answers that I have, and I might not like the answers that you have.
Good. So that's a good thing, right? If you can't work through that in the dating time, you're not gonna work through it in the marriage time. That's true. If we can't work through the difficulty of we don't agree, then we definitely not gonna make it when we start having kids and parents get involved and siblings get involved. We're not gonna make it. What you think about that?
What I think but if I like you to the point where I love you, and I love you to the point where I want to marry you, why should I risk all of that on these 2 or 3 conversations, these hard conversations that we have to have? And I might not be ready for those conversations, right?
If you're not ready for those conversations, you're not ready to be married. And I think that's it, right? If a person is not ready to have those hard conversations, then you're not ready to give yourself to someone else. You're not ready to do what it takes to sacrifice yourself with and for someone else, right? And I think that, you know, what Iris is saying tonight is like, why would it be a risk? It's an opportunity, you know, that it is an opportunity, but one person sees it as a risk because it means that person has to open up vulnerability. They have to be vulnerable to another person. They have to be laid bare, and then still hope that person will still want them even when they see the ugly parts of them, the nasty parts of them. That's a part of marriage, right? I mean, look, you and I had 2 kids together. And during that stage, when there were many stages through pregnancy and after birth, during birth, when you had to see the most extreme parts of me, right? If I cannot, those opening ourselves up, if I cannot trust, if we can't trust each other to see into one another like that, that's going to be a problem when those moments come and, you know, one of us gets sick. One of us when it's an extreme case, we won't be prepared. The relationship won't be prepared if we haven't had the hard talks.
So when do you have these hard talks? Do you have these hard talks after you get after the engagement period?
These are questions. Here we go. That's here we go, Pastor. These are conversations that we have during dating. If I can't ask you about your salvation story, if I can't ask you how you met Jesus, that's number one.
I think those are safe. Those are.
If I can't ask you about your family, where you came from, who the people that raised you, if I can't ask you about that because you still soft about it, you're not ready to be married.
Okay.
If that's a hard conversation, then you ain't ready. I don't know. That's all I got. Like, if you're not ready to talk about your mother and your father, how in the world you gonna be ready to talk to me about something that is like me and you, the bank account on zero, somebody stole all our money? How you gonna be how you gonna be ready to face those situations? I don't know, Pastor.
I'm talking about those hard for me, it's the hard conversations of what did you do when?
Oh yes, what did you do when? Okay, because now we're getting into what did you do when? Now we're getting into accountability. And those, to me, those conversations are key. Because if you and I can't get into what did you do when, then that means that when me and you get together, you ain't gonna want to talk about what you was doing when. That's gonna bleed over into marriage. That you out all night partying it up. You got these secret friends and you don't want to talk about what you was doing when? Why not? And y'all know Pastor is elevated now. Why not? Why is that a hard conversation? What do you want to do that you don't want me knowing that you want to do? Okay? What is it?
What about if it's something that I put in my past that's gone?
With some actually, Pastor Willie is bringing us to our next question. What do you miss about your past?
I ain't say miss it. I said, when it's gone, when it's past, when it's something that's right. Way meant something things to stay in the past. Right. That's what I'm saying. Things that are in the past. You asked me what did I do when, and I was like, well, I'm not that person anymore. Does it still should it still be brought up in the conversation?
This is it, right? Now, you and I both had a past when we met. We both did.
You met me. I was a baby. I came right out of the crib, and
please, tonight.
I was.
We both had a past. We came into this relationship with a past, right? And although I believe some things need to stay in the past, it was in my divulging to you my past, being open with you about my past, that allowed my past no longer to be an issue in our future. Because the past sometimes come back.
Yes, true.
So if I didn't tell, and in my case, the past did come back. So if we did not have the conversation about the past, then what? Then that's something that now is in my future because I didn't deal with it with my future. Right? If I don't deal with my past with my future and say, I'm free from this, I'm delivered from this, but this happened. This was a part of who I was at that time. But I'm no longer that person. I'm free now. I'm delivered. Right? We moving forward from this new place. I'm in a new mindset, all of these different things. If we never had that conversation, Will, what would have happened when my past came back knocking at the door? What would have happened?
Hold on, you real serious right now. You're like, Will.
Right? What would have happened? What would have happened if that past came back and we never talked about it? Because it was a doozy. I ain't gonna tell y'all. Look, I ain't gonna tell y'all the whole story. If you go to our church and you've been there for more than a month, you know the story. But I'm not gonna go into this story here. But it was a doozy. And we never went into that, then what happened when it came back knocking? Should we have left it in the past? Let's talk about it.
Should we have left it in the past?
Yeah. You know my past. Should we have left the past in the past?
Should we have left the past in the past?
I told you about it while we was dating. during our dating stage, before we got engaged, I told you my story.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were both of us. I mean, I think when you serious into dating and and you're dating towards marrying that person, I think there should be an understanding that not even an understanding, a knowing and an understanding that I didn't just appear, that I came from somewhere, like you said, right? And we know this. Hold up, wait a minute, before you feel all vindicated. but, but we do come from a past, and that those things from the past we should talk about, you know, we should talk about many of those things so those things won't carry on into our future, just in case our past may arise again. And so we are both, now I'm aware, or you are aware of um, what it is, that's hanging around, and know how to deal with it from a future or from a present place.
I think too, though, Pastor Will, in reality, that we had some of those conversations before we knew we were serious about marriage, because I needed to know if you could deal with my past or not. That's true. That did happen. I mean, we was fast. We was in 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah,
Our process
exactly.
was in 5 minutes.
Oh,
5 minutes. 5 minutes anyway.
yeah.
But some things I think, yes, many but not all. I agree with that. It don't have to be every single thing that you did in your past. You don't have to go down the whole laundry list. I definitely agree with that, Iris, that I don't think you have to go down the laundry list. But I do think that there are essential conversations that you have to have with that person. I think it's a must have.
Oh, Tara.
Correct. Daughter is true. Daughter said, look, if an ex show up talking about he may have fathered a child from 8 years ago, now what? Because you ain't said nothing. Now we all surprised. So I had the conversation with Pastor Will. He know I had this conversation with him. Now, is it any way that anybody coming back? I need to know. Is she coming? Did you call her? When the last time you talked to her?
My answer has always been not that I know of.
Right. And so, look, I needed some investigation. Look, what's the name? Look, I needed some answers, right? Because there are things that you need to know before you say yes. You need to know if this is a possibility, because if this is a possibility, then we need to be able to deal with it. We need to be able to deal with it if it's a possibility that's going to come up. Yes. So, I think that, it's what Miss Marcia is saying is, that the hard question should be asked in a relationship, but, not when getting to learn or about someone that you just met. And I think that, as we talked about before, there are levels to hard questions, right? And so you're not going to get into all of the past things. You're not going to start off there, but the questions that we started off with should not be hard questions, right? If that person's a believer, right? Their salvation story, how they get through hard times, that should not be hard, guys. Now, I'm sorry to say, y'all, if somebody has a hard time with accountability questions, then we got to get them together. They need to come over to this counseling, sit on this couch, because they shouldn't have a hard time talking about how they get through things, right? What's wrong with that? But also family. I don't think family should be something deep and heavy. There may be deep and heavy things, but where you come from, if you can't articulate where you come from, that might be a situation that now you're going to be taking with you for a long time, right? And so we have a lot of comments and questions here. Yes. My girl Ira said, what's your debt situation? Right. What's your situation with debt? The question about money, the thing about money and how someone views or sees money is it's a question, right? Because once we get to a certain place in the relationship, I do need to know what liabilities am I taking on? What liabilities am I taking on? Not just with debt, but also with your mindset. Is that something that I'm gonna be okay with if you feel like every week you want to go spend your whole check on, a new car every other week or every other month? So I do think, yes, at some point. Oh, boy. Deacon Terry said, talk about the credit score being spiritual. I think we'll talk about that on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like, your debt situation. I think, Pastor, you hit the nail on the head. Let's talk about your thoughts on money, your
relationship
with money. Because honestly, when me and Pastor E first got married, I did not like her relationship with money. I did not like it at all. I mean, she was Pastor E is all about memories, remembering the time.
Oh yes, I love memories.
Buying the most expensive photos and everything, and
vacations. Oh my gosh, I love vacations.
And I'm tight. I'm tight.
And you know what? I didn't like Pastor Will's relationship with money either.
Yeah.
Because I didn't care about it probably enough, and he cared about it too much. Like, I have lived off of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We all right. So we neither one of us like each other's stance on money.
My idea, I think, one of my ideas, I can say that this was back in the day, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If I didn't have, $300 carrying over into the next paycheck, I was broke. And Pastor E didn't like that about me. She was like, "You're not broke," because she was carrying over $20.
Correct. Yeah. When I first moved out, I was carrying over $20 and living the life now, y'all.
Right. She was. I was living at home with mom and dad, and Pastor E was in her townhouse and doing her thing. But for me, I was like, I needed that security. I needed that. I needed that cash money security, right? And Pastor E, so we had different. So our attitudes towards money were different. Whereas in that case, I was in a lot more debt than Pastor E when we got married too. So,
I made less, but I was in a better situation.
Yeah.
The thing about that though is that coming together, we brought two very different perspectives together, and we evolved together. Our relationship with money now is the bomb together.
I mean,
like we help each other grow in this area.
We got married. She had her account. I had my account. I couldn't keep money in my account, so we decided to join the accounts. And then she was eating crabs every week, and so I was like, "Nah, we got to stop this. So we got to split accounts again, and we got to end up with 3 accounts. You have your crab account, and I got to have my security account. But at the end of the day, at the end of 20 years, we made it. God has been good, and He gave us something that we work together with. We don't work opposing or opposite of each other. That we and stuff like this is a learning together, right?
Absolutely.
I know.
Yeah, we grew in this together. I was 21 when we got married, so absolutely, I did have we got married the week before I turned 22. And so it was some things we evolved in together. Money being one of them, right? We evolved. And so having these conversations does not X people out immediately. Some things is, we're going to grow and evolve in some things together. And that's also okay, right? That's why I didn't really have money on my list, even though we know it's something that you're going to talk about in premarital counseling. Hopefully you're going to talk about that, when you're getting closer to the stage of wanting to get married, you will talk about money. But right now we're trying to talk about things that you can talk about early on enough that will help you to think about, is this somebody I would even say yes to? if this person, so let's go down the list. If this person doesn't have a relationship with God, they don't know God, right? They don't know Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior. Let me run through it, right? They not filled with the Holy Ghost. Let me run through it, right? If is that an okay for me? Number one, but number two, is it understanding how this person thinks about family? That's something that can happen early on that may allow me to have some insight on if I want to continue with this person or not, right? And then the third thing about those scenario questions is if someone is not mature enough to have those scenario questions with you, then they may not be ready to be married yet. That's just the truth of it. I mean, if they're not ready for that accountability, those types of conversations, they may not be in the space where they're ready to be married. So Pastor Willie jumped off. I think his maybe internet went haywire, but he'll be back. Yeah, and so I think one of the things that I want to say to our Dating God's Way crew tonight is don't wait for forever to have these conversations. And I know that people want to feel like I need to wait until we get to a certain place when don't wait for forever to have these conversations, because sometimes you will save yourself a lot of heartache when you start having these conversations and you find out that this is not something I'm willing to do. That's what I say.
Yeah, I think when you have these, I think when you have these conversations, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I think when you have these conversations, I think you have to kind of slide them in. I think I don't know. I mean, for me, it's to slide in the conversations, be graceful, and also expect the same questions that you are asking. Expect the same questions to be asked about you also.
Absolutely. Be ready to share.
Be ready to share. Be ready
Be
to
ready to
be
share.
just as transparent with your answers as as you expect the person be with their answers, right?
Yeah.
And have a soft heart. You got to have a soft heart, and you have to have soft eyes. You have
Yeah.
to have soft eyes. And remember, you're not going into it with any judgment, but
Yeah.
you're going into it with the thought of, am I going to, what you're hinging your future on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, Iris makes a good point that, where you are in your stage of life, if you own property, if there are different things about where you are in your life that makes different conversations happen differently. Like we talked about, if you have children, that is a different trigger point. If you already are in a place where you own property and are more you're more matured in your life, then yes, absolutely, there are different things that warrant different kinds of conversation. I definitely agree with that. Pastor Will, let's go to some of our questions.
I think Iris is at the. I mean, I think that her statement is at a point of, I had the thought in my head, but it is at that credit score point, right? Like, let me see your credit score.
Say the debt situation.
Right. Let me see your credit score. Let me see your spending habits. Let me see how much you got in your bank account, and how much you need in your bank account to have a bank account, right? So I think but when you do hit a certain level of financial stability, financial independence,
there's an expectation.
There's an expectation.
Absolutely. Has to be.
There has to be.
Let's get to some of our questions tonight, Pastor Will, before we go.
Okay. Any particular ones?
Yeah, I think we have one that came in at why is my thing not working? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. We had one that came in early in our conversation, 832. 832.
Okay, 832. All right.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, should you spare spiritual? I'm gonna just piece this out. Should you share spiritual hard times? And you know, I was telling, I was giving somebody keys to witnessing, right? I was telling them keys to witnessing, and I told him, look, you know, and he was going on the platform. He said, I want to share my testimony, and I said, okay, good. I said, well, one of the keys to witnessing is you share your hurt, and then you share your deliverance, right?
Right.
You just don't stay in your hard time. You don't stay in your hurt
Correct.
time or your hard time.
That's right.
But if you share your spiritual hard time, you definitely also, because remember, you are not only sharing, but you are ministering too. So you're not only sharing your spiritual hard time, but you are also sharing where God is in your life, how God put you through, how He brought you through, how He got you over that spiritual hard time, and that you're not staying in that spiritual hard time, but you are living. You have lived through it.
You have lived through it. Yeah, that's good. You lived through it. No, that's good. You got it.
Yeah.
842.
842.
Yeah, that's excellent answer. Awesome.
Man.
Boom.
Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord. 842. Okay. So at 842, I don't see nothing past the E.
8:42 p.m.
8:42.
See that?
Okay.
So can you ask these questions while just being friends? If so, is there a level up to these questions when you start dating that person? So I think that, yes, I think that the initial questions that we talked about tonight about if someone is a believer, their salvation story, you know, where they come from, who they are, you know, some of those questions are just friend questions. They are just friend questions. They're things that you need to know if you even building a friendship. Right. And I think the level up to those questions start to get into deeper questions, but I think are deeper questions. But Pastor Willie probably already think we in deeper questions, but deeper questions about what are their passions? You know, what are the things that they're passionate about? You know, do they serve within church and ministry if that's important to you? So I think the deeper questions to me, the level up gets more into the types of things they do, how they spend their life, their livelihood is. I think those are great things to talk about when you go to a level up.
So yeah, I think Yvette brings out a good thing, and you know, early on tonight, I kind of just went straight to dating, and I didn't go through the friends phase, right? And yes, many of these questions, things can really be talked about during the friendship stages, and they should be talked about during the friendship stages to determine if this thing go from friend to dating, that I'm going into dating with a little bit more information instead of getting my heart, here we go, getting my heart entangled. You get it? Entanglements. Okay.
You know I'm over it. You know I'm over it.
I know everybody done went to Beyonce now, but anyway, so so instead of getting your heart entangled, before getting your heart entangled into the dating, that these questions, and they won't, and in fact, these questions as friends are not as hard on the friendship level than they would be in the dating level.
That's right, because we don't care yet.
When you in friendship, you don't care. There's nothing to lose.
Right, so, we don't care yet.
Good point.
All right, let's go to 847.
Good point. 847. All right.
Right after Sarah.
Okay. Cool.
Right.
D.
So how soon should these conversations take place? Because sometimes too soon can push people back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, that there are some questions that have to happen right away. Perspective. Especially as you start to get older, you just don't have time to waste. That's my perspective. That's a Pastor E perspective. I've always been a young old person. So I felt like that at 21, right? But in reality, the older you get, the less time you want to spend maybe entangling with someone, getting involved with someone who may be in it for reasons that you're not. And so I think that conversations about faith, conversations about where that person comes from, I think those are early conversations. They're conversations that help you determine if this is someone you even want to build a friendship with. Anything on that, Pastor?
Nope. Oh no, that's
Awesome.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So
tonight was good. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Good night. Yeah.
Y'all got to see the fun side of me and Pastor Will when we really when we get into that different spaces about something. But y'all got to see a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Different personality perspectives.
But somewhat about the past, what you should know going in or whatever. From personal experience, me and Pastor, we kind of cheated a little bit anyway. I'm getting feedback from your speaker. Okay. So because Pastor E's grandma already knew my family. So they already knew where I was from anyway.
That is true. That's true. So we already knew something about where you was from already. That's true. I didn't, but my grandma did.
Grandma,
so yeah, we cheated a little bit.
Grandma had my back. Amen.
Yes.
God bless you guys. I got to get back to work, Pastor E.
Awesome. Thanks, Brother Chip.
Yes. Brother Chip.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you guys for commenting. We enjoyed being with you guys as well tonight, and we look forward to having some more fun next week. Send us some topics, some things you'd like us to talk about.
Bring them on.
Bring them on. And we'll get into some more stuff next week.
Bless you guys. Thank you.
Bless you. Don't forget our Vision Impact Center.
I'll leave out with, how can I share my screen? It's not, there we go. Here we go. Vision Impact Center. Amen.
5 ways to impact.
5 ways to impact.
Yes, 5 ways to impact. Yep. Help us impact a life.
Yes. God bless you all.
Woo-hoo.